Football has a strange relationship with history. Sometimes it feels like history is nothing more than a collection of old stories, but every once in a while, the game creates a moment so unbelievable that it feels like destiny has been waiting for decades to complete it. 40 years ago, Diego Maradona walked onto a World Cup pitch against England and produced two of the most famous goals football has ever seen. One became known as the Hand of God. The other became the goal of the century. Those 90 minutes transformed a football match into a piece of sporting mythology. Now, nearly 4 decades later, Lionel Messi is preparing to face England for the very first time in his international career. Different players, different generation, different football, but somehow the same rivalry. The question isn't whether history will repeat itself. The question is whether football is about to write another chapter that the world will never forget. For decades, Argentina versus England has never been just another football match. To understand why, you have to go back to 1986. Only 4 years after the Falklands War, emotions between the two nations were still incredibly raw. When Argentina and England met in the World Cup quarterfinals, the match carried a significance far beyond football. Millions of people weren't simply watching two teams compete. They were watching two nations with painful recent history, and football became the stage where those emotions played out in front of the entire world. Then came Diego Maradona. Within the space of just 4 unforgettable minutes, he produced 2 goals that perfectly captured the beauty and controversy of football. The first was one of the most debated goals in sporting history. Maradona punched the ball into the net with his hand, escaped the referee's attention, and later described it as being scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. England were furious. The football world was divided, but before anyone could even process what had happened, Maradona did something even more extraordinary. Picking up the ball inside his own half, he dribbled past 5 England players before calmly placing the ball into the net. It was a goal so breathtaking that FIFA would later call it the goal of the century. In the space of 4 minutes, Maradona had created football's greatest controversy and one of its greatest masterpieces. That single match became immortal, and from that day forward, every meeting between Argentina and England carried a weight that few international rivalries could ever match. Now fast forward nearly 40 years, and football has given us another incredible coincidence. Lionel Messi has played almost 2 decades of international football. He has faced Brazil, Germany, France, Croatia, the Netherlands, Mexico, Uruguay, and almost every major football nation on earth. He has won the Copa America, lifted the FIFA World Cup, and broken records that once seemed impossible to reach. Yet despite everything he has achieved, Messi has never faced England in a senior international match. It almost feels impossible to believe. The greatest player of his generation has somehow never experienced one of football's most famous rivalries, until now. That alone makes this match historic, before a single ball has been kicked. It isn't just another World Cup semifinal. It's Lionel Messi finally stepping into a rivalry that shaped the legacy of the man he has been compared to throughout his entire career. Whether Messi likes it or not, comparisons with Maradona have followed him since he was a teenager. Every trophy, every World Cup, every international performance has been measured against the standards Maradona set. Now, football has handed him something no one could have predicted, the chance to write his own story against England. But if Argentina are carrying history into this match, England are bringing something just as dangerous: form. This England side is arguably the most complete team left in the tournament. They are organized defensively, composed in possession, physically strong, and incredibly dangerous on the counterattack. Unlike many teams that try to stop Messi by surrounding him with defenders, England possess the discipline to cut off the passing lanes before the ball even reaches him. That is often the only effective way to limit a player who can change an entire match with one touch. England also arrive with confidence that previous generations never seemed to have. For years, England became known for falling short when expectations were highest. Golden generations came and went. Talented squads failed to deliver. Penalty shootouts became nightmares. Every tournament seemed to end in disappointment. But this team feels different. They have developed patience, tactical maturity, and the belief that they belong among football's elite. They are no longer hoping to compete with the world's best. They expect to beat them. For England, that is the biggest challenge. It's not enough to play well for 89 minutes. They have to remain disciplined for every second, because the smallest mistake against Messi can become the defining moment of an entire tournament. Switch off for just a second, leave a yard of space, fail to track one run, and suddenly history changes. That is why coaches spend weeks preparing for Messi and still leave the pitch wondering how he found a way. Yet perhaps the most fascinating part of this story has nothing to do with tactics, formations, or statistics. It is about legacy. Maradona produced the greatest performance of his World Cup career against England. Now Messi, the only player consistently mentioned alongside Maradona in the greatest of all time debate, finally gets his own opportunity against the same opponent. Football doesn't usually write stories this perfectly. It doesn't often create moments where the past and the present collide so naturally. But every once in a while, the sport reminds us why billions of people around the world fall in love with it. This match isn't about proving whether Messi is better than Maradona. That debate will never truly end. It isn't about revenge for England or redemption for Argentina. It is about witnessing another chapter in one of football's greatest rivalries. Two proud football nations, two teams in exceptional form, one place in the World Cup final. The stakes simply don't get any bigger. Whether Messi creates another unforgettable masterpiece or England finally writes a new ending to this historic rivalry, one thing is already certain. Millions of people around the world won't simply be watching a football match. They'll be watching history meet the present. 40 years after Maradona changed football forever against England, Lionel Messi finally gets his chance to write his own chapter. The names have changed, the stadium has changed, the generation has changed, but the feeling remains exactly the same. Because some rivalries never disappear. They simply wait for the next generation to continue the story. And that's why this isn't just another World Cup semifinal. It is the match football has been waiting almost 40 years to see.